Hi guys, and welcome into my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, my dear star seeds. Welcome into another video. If you're new to my channel, welcome into Blooming Woman. And if you guys are returning subscribers, thank you so much for your support through this time of me putting out as much videos as I can. I know the rate has been a little bit slower, but there's reasons as to why. And as we can hear the crow going off in the back. But yes, so thank you guys so much for your support, returning subscribers. It's so much appreciated. Today's video is going to be a video that was voted on inside of the community tab inside of YouTube. I gave you guys 4 options, and the one that won the most vote was how to protect yourself spiritually. So that's what we're going to get into today. I hope you guys can hear me well, and I hope this video goes well. And before we get started, I want to let anybody know who doesn't know already that I do have a website called www.bloomingwoman.com. It's the company name.com. And I have handmade crystal pendants that I sell on there. And then I also do personal readings, and I even do EFT therapy on there. So if you're interested in any of that, check out the website, which is inside of the link in the description below the video. So when we are talking about how to protect yourself spiritually, what better time to cover this topic than in today's society? I mean, we can always benefit on protecting ourselves spiritually. If you are walking the spiritual path and you are a spiritual seeker, you know how much importance comes with protecting yourself spiritually in order to maintain your spiritual essence and purity. In order to sometimes even function mentally, emotionally, and physically in this world as a spiritualist, we have to be able to protect ourselves from spiritual attacks. So that is very important, but it makes it even more important with what is going on inside of our world today. And with that being said, I want to point out that the steps that I say in this video is going to be helpful for what's going on in today's society, where we are going through so much changes. I feel like there is always war at hand, whether it's a mental war, whether it's solar wars and star wars, or whether it's wars going on in other continents. But there's a literal spiritual war that is occurring on Earth, where Mother Nature and the divine feminine is really being harvested aggressively, and there's no water being replenished back into the soil or back into Mama Nature. You see, as the wind calmed down and everything got silent when I talked about that, because there's truth. Mother Nature is being harvested. She's being harvested aggressively by humans, and there's no replenishing, there's no equal exchange, there's no rejuvenating the soil or giving back to her. It's just hardcore harvesting, and that is having an impact on our society today. That is having an impact on humanity, and there is a shift occurring. I promise you guys I'm going to get to the point. But there is a shift occurring when it comes to the world that we're living in today. The access of spirituality is drifting and changing, where we're seeing spiritualists and perfect living masters and saints and gurus pop up in different parts of the world as opposed to just specific regions. We're seeing more natives and more ancient ancestors being reborn, and we are receiving more truth through the technology. We are receiving more truth, and we're receiving so much enlightenment on what's really going on. So we have all of these secrets spilled out about spirituality, and we have all this wisdom. And we know that wisdom equals power. And so that's what's happening in today's society. This is just the patriarchy system, the man-ruled world, fighting and grasping for their last breaths of control, because there is a shift in nature that is inevitable, and they have no control over that shift. And when they cannot take control, they start wars. When they cannot take control, they do come through aggressively and try to hurt women, children, and innocent people. And they try to mess up the harmony of earth so that they can have more money and greed. And that's what we're dealing with right now. But it is inevitable that divine femininity has to come into play, and divine femininity will come into balance. So with that being said, let's make sure that we pray. Let's make sure that we meditate. Let's make sure that we do all the things that we need to do in order to replenish back into Mama Nature during these times, and really ask for world peace, because humanity as a whole, the collective karma that is occurring with humanity is building. And that's why we're seeing mass, influxes of negative karma happening to a mass group of innocent people, or a mass group of people overall, because the karma for humanity is growing. So let's pray and spread love and light. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the points here. The first thing I want to get into is, speaking of prayer, is going to be prayer. All right. So prayer is something that is very important when it comes to spiritually protecting yourself, because prayer comes in handy, because prayer has to deal with magic. It has to deal with the power that we have to speak. Prayer has to deal with air element. Prayer has to deal with our ability to chant, our ability to have mantras, our ability to speak life into existence. Now, if we're talking about prayer and why prayer is so powerful, why does prayer have the ability to transmute, to change, or to create a higher positive vibration around you that will be able to protect you spiritually? Why is that? That is because when it comes to prayer, prayer allows us to send a signal from our brain, because we're talking about air element, which has to deal with our thoughts. It has to deal with our thoughts, our neural system inside of our brain. And that is information going back and forth inside of our nervous system, inside of our brain. And what's happening with that is it has energy. It has life inside of it. So when we translation, and we translate that seemingly languageless communication into actual words through our mouth, we're giving it even more power, and we're bringing it from our brains and our minds, and we're creating it and bringing it into existence to where it is now out in the open, and it's inside of our physical realm. Yes. So there is power in our thoughts, because thoughts is prayer, thoughts is speaking, it is communication, it is air elements. But there is also an equally, and arguably in some cases more, power in putting those thoughts into words and speaking them out into existence and literally projecting them out. So prayer is very powerful. What are some things that prayer would be really good for? Prayer is good when you feel your mind wandering, when you're thinking about somebody else, when you're thinking about negative situations, when you feel like you're being spiritually or psychically attacked, when you keep thinking about somebody or a negative situation involving people that you know in your heart you aren't necessarily wanting to think about, but they keep popping up in your head. Most of the times that is happening because that person is actually thinking about you. They are obsessing over you. And so they're projecting negativity onto you because they're thinking about you obsessively. And even if it's them thinking about you obsessively in a positive manner, it can still be a spiritual attack. And the reason why is because this person is constantly ringing up your line. They're constantly projecting energy towards you. And we all need a break. So if you are absorbing, if you are able to pick up on that message, you have to be able to cut it off, to shut it out, and to block it, and to make sure that it's not being absorbed inside of you. Because even if it is good thoughts, if it's obsessive, that can still be draining and tiring, because you need a break, you need your own thoughts, and you need to focus. So that is when prayer comes in handy. When you really feel your mind drifting away, or when someone is obsessively thinking or talking or gossiping about you, prayer, mantras, chants come in very handy. What are some examples? I'll give you an example. A chant that I love to say is one that goes like this. You can put your hand in the prayer position, and then you can say 3 times, or as many times as you like, no negative entities, no negative energies, and no low vibrational frequencies can penetrate me nor my aura field. And you say that over and over again. No negative entities, no negative vibrations, no negative low vibrational energies can penetrate me nor my aura field. You can even say they cannot penetrate my atmosphere, they cannot penetrate my home, they cannot penetrate my environment. And that works very well, especially before you meditate, before you do sacred practices. It works extremely well. And nonetheless, you really want to say something that comes from your heart as well. So you can also be independent, like the guy that just rode the bike behind me, right? Because everything is signs. Be independent, and he's riding a blue bike. Communication. Be independent as well, and do what works for you. Come up with your own chants. Come up with your own chants, or do your own research on Venus mantras, on Mercury mantra, on Ganesha mantras that help to move obstacles. You can even say something along the lines of, no weapons formed against me shall prosper. No weapons formed against me shall prosper. You can use your ability to visualize while you're chanting or while you're praying to go ahead and visualize symbols of peace and symbols of, of protection while you're chanting, while you're praying. But the power of prayer alone is good enough. So I know there's a lot of different scenarios where prayer can work for you, and where prayer can be something that is very powerful as a spiritual protection. Like I said, if someone's obsessively thinking about you, or if you're obsessively thinking about them. Another example is also when you are about to do anything sacred, when you're about to do sacred rituals like meditation, yoga, when you feel like you're trying to ground yourself, catch your breath. Those are times to make sure that you say a chant or a prayer to ensure that no negative energies or entities are coming onto your aura field or onto your existence. There is no power. They break before they can reach you. And I promise it works. And you also have to trust. And I'm sure there's a lot of other scenarios, but I'm going to keep moving on to the next point. Which, speaking of signs and symbols, the next point is going to be symbols and signs of protection. That is right. So, symbols and signs of protection can reach a far and wide range. This can reach a far and wide range because there are so many different tribes and different cultures inside of human existence, from different parts of the lands that have different cultures and symbols and practices. So, for example, you can look at your lineage, and you can look at the symbols that are used for protection in your lineage. You can also decide to look at a lineage that you feel drawn to. Maybe you were part of this lineage in a past life. I'll give you an example. For example, arrows is a very good protection tool. arrows, an actual arrow, not a bow and arrow, just an arrow. It is a protection tool. When we look into Native Americans, that is their choice of weaponry when it comes to protection, swords as well, but arrows is considered a symbol of protection. You will see arrows hanging inside of a Native American's home. Now, I'm saying Native American, but I know they identify as different tribes. I just don't know the exact tribes. I know Cherokee uses arrows, and I know it's more than one, and it's multiple tribes that use arrows, but I'm not sure which exact ones, and I don't want to list them all. So for those reasons, I am saying people who are native to the land that is now known as America. So Native Americans, arrows is a big thing. That is a symbol of protection. If we go to Kemet, which is commonly known as Egypt in modern day society, if we go to the ancient lands of Kemet, we will see that the Ankh was an extremely highly powerful use of a symbol of protection. That is right. When we think about these symbols of protection, they go from a wide range of symbols, but just do your research, or see what it is that you're drawn to for protection. A lotus flower, flowers overall can also be seen as protection because it is a different type of protection. Flowers are a protection that protect you in a way where you're protected with compassion, beauty, and love. So these different symbols have different meanings. The symbols have different things to them. Even the swastika, which is known as the swastika, but it comes from Kemet. And India also has this symbol as well. And this symbol, which the Nazis used and stole, this symbol is a symbol of protection as well. So what can we do with these symbols of protection? We can go ahead and hang them inside of our wall. We can hang them in our space. We can draw them on the wall. We can draw them on our belongings. We can even wear them as emblems. Yes, just like you see the Native Americans walking around with feathers. Feather is another symbol of protection. When you see them walking around with feathers, when you see the scriptures inside of the Medu Neter, and you see that inside of Kemet, they're walking around with actual ankhs, like they have a staff in the shape of an ankh. This is because it's really being used as protection. These are protections. So you can actually wear it as an emblem of protection. I have ankhs for sale on my website, which right now I actually have 30% off. So if you guys want to check that out, definitely check it out, because it's not going to last forever. But right now it is 30% off for all the ankhs and all the necklaces. I have flower necklaces on there as well. So we can do this. Another thing we can do, and I'm sharing with you guys a secret, which is no longer going to be a secret after I say this. And it probably never was a secret, because a lot of the things we do is from past life, or it's something that we are familiar to, or something that already honestly existed. So I didn't discover this at all. I just chose to do it, and then I realized that maybe other people are doing it too, obviously. But I am Reiki certified, which is very common in today's society. And when you do Reiki, there are symbols of protection. And what you can do is you draw the symbol of protection on your hand in order to wake the Reiki up. Then you go ahead and you hold, you take in that energy and that power and that source, and you let it build up. And then you go to the certain part of your body to heal it with your hands, because your hands are very healing. Now, what I do is I actually go ahead, and what I'll do is I'll write the symbol of the Ankh. I'll write Horus's eye. I'll write different symbols on my hand with the intention of what I feel that symbol has. Wholeheartedly, no doubt in my brain what that symbol means. And I will write that symbol on my hand. And then I'll place my hands over my aura field in order to ensure that the meaning of that symbol gets embraced on my aura field, furthermore protecting me, healing me, and really guarding me from any negative energies or entities. And I will say this, and I mean this when I say this, you do not need to be Reiki certified in order to heal yourself with your hands. You do not need to be Reiki certified in order to draw a symbol and that symbol have energy to it, and then put the energy of that symbol onto your aura field, onto your mind, onto your throat chakra, onto any part of you that you feel like is being spiritually attacked or needs healing. You don't have to be Reiki certified. You do not. You can do this because we have this magic within us already. So what I'm saying is drawing symbols with your own finger. You can use 2 finger, 1 finger. Drawing a symbol. Getting into a meditative state first. Praying that your session is protected. And then drawing a symbol on either your hand or in the air. And then pushing that symbol of peace and love out. Or in. Okay? Is going to be a way to spiritually protect yourself, your loved ones, your children, your partner, your family. All right? So symbols is definitely going to be something that is important. So let's see what else we have here for different ways to protect yourself spiritually. All right. Offerings. Yes, that's right. Which there may be a separate video made about offerings, because I've learned so much now through experience, trial and error, resistance to even meditation. I had resistance towards meditation. I went like probably 3 years without meditating as much as I should have. And the only thing I was doing was working myself and putting so much energy into my spiritual career and my regular material career that I didn't give enough time to meditate or to really go ahead and do offerings and the spiritual practices that I should have done. I was so resistant to these spiritual practices that I was aligning it with negativity, and I was aligning it with things like, oh, it's too much rituals aren't good, and all these things. And so I see my microphone going in and out. Okay. And so offerings is going to be something that is really good for you to use as a way to spiritually protect yourself. When it's going, you guys, I am trying to bring this video to you. Okay, so yes, offerings is going to be a way to really protect yourself spiritually. The reason why it goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning of the video. So if you are going to really protect yourself spiritually, the biggest way that you can do it is to protect the number one thing that is protecting you inside of this physical realm, which is going to be Earth itself. Protect Earth. nourish her, nourish him, put water into the land, put seeds into the land. When you're done eating your fruits, throw the apple, throw the orange peelings, throw the grapes, throw them back into Mother Nature. Say thank you. And like I said, that's a whole thing. So I'm going to make a separate video at some point about that after I make the videos that you guys requested. But you really want to give back to Mama Nature, because Mama Nature is earth element, and it's a deity. It's a living being. And it is probably the most abundant source inside of our physical realm as human beings on Earth. Earth itself is literally giving us sustenance and life, along with water, along with sun, along with air, right? But when you give to Mama Nature, you're giving to the sun. When you give to Mama Nature, you're giving to water. When you give to Mama Nature, you're giving to the air, because they all work in coincide. They all coincide with one another. The sun is literally beaming on me right now. The sun is literally beaming on the tree right now. The sun is literally, the moon is bringing the water levels up and pushing it down. So when you pour water, when you pour seeds into Mama Nature, what you give will come back to you. So if you're just moving around and you're like, I want this, I want to be protected, I want to do this, and you're protecting your energy and you're doing all this stuff, but you're not giving back, it's going to be hard to be on the luckier side of things. So you can give back to Mama Nature, you can give offerings to Mama Nature, you can also just overall give and be helpful and be more humanitarian to people that are less fortunate, or people that you can help, whether that's through resources, whether that's through money, whether that's through giving advice, spreading wisdom, whether that is through feeding the homeless, whether you see, you give $5, you give $1, you give $50, $20 to an organization that you feel drawn to, whether you are just giving back and you have that ability to feel like you are protected. Because when you're giving back and you're offering and you're donating, you're doing it from a place of abundance. Because why would you donate if you feel like you need to hold on to something and you're lacking something? I can't give my money away because I have no money. I donate every week. I donate weekly. I donate monthly. I donate a lot. And I'll tell you guys right now, I am not rich. You know what I'm saying? But there's a certain type of beauty. There's a certain type of essence that follows you when you do good. And there's also, hey guys, I just want to make sure you can hear me. It's so windy. And there's also just a certain layer of protection, because the stars are watching. The stars are watching. There's a certain layer of protection and star element that comes when you do good into the world, and especially when you do good for nature. It's almost like cleaning your house. If you clean and you organize your house, you're gonna feel good. When you look around and everything's all squeaky clean and organized, it's gonna feel like you're protected. So definitely giving offerings is a good way to do it. And when it comes to giving offerings, you do have to do it from a place of giving not to receive. We already have the idea that the universe is merciful, and what you give does come back to you. But as you're throwing the fruit out, you don't want to say, oh, please give me this, and then throw your food out. You can can do that. You can pour libation and ask for a blessing, but you don't want to do that all the time. You definitely want to make sure that there's more times of you giving without necessarily asking for anything back. So that's very important when it comes to offerings. Now, the next thing that you can do to help you be, spiritually protected is going to be to make sure that you are meditating. Yes, meditate. And why is that? Why would we meditate in order to be spiritually protected? The reason why meditation is so important to spiritually protect ourselves is because meditation centers us, grounds us, and it allows for us to be with our spirit. It allows for us to be with our spirit. There's a story that I heard a couple weeks ago where I forget the lady, and I don't even know if she would want to have her name tied to it, but she said it on a live broadcast. But the story really, it was like enlightening for me. And we hear stories like this all the time, but this specific one really rang to me in that moment. You know what I mean? And she was talking about how when she had went through having cancer, and she was undergoing treatment and all this stuff, and she actually beat cancer, and she's fine, and she's doing well and thriving and love and beauty. She's doing great. And she was talking about how she, right after her treatment, after she healed, she did have a moment where she was always depressed, and she was looking for healing, and she was looking towards spirituality. And she went to Mexico in order to seek a, shaman. And when she went to Mexico, there was a shaman lady, and this lady told her that there was a time when she was undergoing surgery. And she sees there was a time when she was undergoing surgery, and she sees that the lady's spirit was next to her, not inside of her. And so the shaman did prayer and did work on her to guide the spirit to go back into the lady's body. And this lady, I'm not going to speak for her, of course, but she did mention things along the lines of she knew exactly what moment that was, and she knew exactly what the shaman was talking about, because she herself felt like she wasn't the same after that moment, and like her soul she'd never really felt complete, right? And so that personally reminds me of meditation and the importance of really making sure that our thoughts aren't thinking about our mother-in-law, our worries aren't being projected outwards about our financial state, and our emotions aren't just, spread out and to other people's ears. And we have a sense of dignity and a sense of protection within ourselves, our soul, whether that is our entire soul, which is drastic and dangerous, where our entire soul is outside of us. Let me stop moving my hand because I think that's messing with the mic. Whether that's our entire soul, which is very, drastic and dangerous, because our entire soul would be outside of our body. That's tough. Which I feel like I've had moments like that in my earlier 20s. Which I'm 31 now. But in my early 20s, I had moments where I was so depressed. And, when you're going into a dark place, you almost feel your spirit leaving you. And that didn't help my depression. That made it worse. So even not in that sense, but also just in the sense of our energy, putting our energy into all these different places. Being a wife is freaking exhausting. Being a mother, I'm sure, is emotionally and drastically exhausting. Being a daughter, being a mother, being a wife, being a coworker, being an employee, There's all these different hats we wear, including the hat we wear just to be inside of this body, this physical body that's given to us. So when are we having time to identify who we really are on a soul level? Right? This goes back to Kemet with one of the most powerful proverb, which is know thyself. Because when you know thyself, there's a certain level of confidence and there's a certain level of protection that you have through the wisdom of knowing who you are. And how can we know who we are? Through meditation. So when you meditate, you know thyself. When you meditate, you know how you feel. When you meditate, you know what's inside of you. You know what is happening on the soul level with you. If you meditate long enough and you get through the murky waters, it might take a couple years, it might take a couple months, but if you meditate long enough and you go through all the shadows and a lot of the murky, dark shadow work, you'll get to a point where you'll have actual visions. You may see a parsley. I saw parsley a couple months ago during my meditation, and it's because I was seeking to see how I could heal myself, right? Because I was personally going on a parasite cleanse, which is normal and everyone should do it. And I just had an image of raw parsley, and that just told me that, you know what, I need to eat raw parsley or juice it, but I need to take in more of that. There is a certain magic and power within that. You will know exactly who's spiritually attacking you. You will know exactly what you need to do to avoid that situation. And understanding with meditation that there is no immediate response. When it comes to our intuition, it's not always immediate. Sometimes it may appear delayed. Sometimes you can be seeking an answer. You can be wondering, why am I so tired? You can be wondering, is this person spiritually attacking me? You could be wondering, what is it that I'm messing up on? Why do I feel so low right now? And you're not receiving. If you see that you're not receiving, I will say, and I don't want anyone to take this personally, but you're holding on to the question too hard, to the point where you're not receiving. You're seeking. You seek it. You have to seek silently, not obsessively, and not from a place of aggression or a place of desperation or low vibration. You have to seek from a place of love, from a place of care for yourself, from a place of love for yourself, from a place of wanting to be loved and wanting to heal. And you have to give it time. You have to let it breathe so that you can be able to receive the information, because everything works in divine timing. And that means that you might have to wait before all of a sudden you get that sign and everything just makes sense. There may be a couple of weeks, there may be a couple of months where you are completely confused and you don't know what's taking your energy and you don't know what's going on. And then randomly you can just hear somebody in a store talking about a specific crystal and you feel drawn to that crystal, and the next thing you know, that crystal was exactly what you needed to protect yourself. And why is that? Why does that happen? The reason why sometimes you got to let things cook and take time is because there's a lesson there. Could you imagine if we just clicked our fingers and we knew the answer to anything, and we just asked our intuition, hey, what does this mean? What does that mean? What does this mean? And it just told us? Sometimes you gotta let it simmer. You gotta watch the signs. You have to experience it unfold. So that way you can actually learn and see the lesson, find the wisdom, because you know why and how something is occurring. So meditation allows for you to really dive deep into who you are, what makes you happy, how your feelings are, what your feelings are, what your shadows are. Just knowing thyself completely on a mental, spiritual, and emotional level, it allows for you to really transcend through different realms. Even when you feel like all you're seeing is darkness, when you feel like all you're seeing is just nothing in your meditation, you would be so shocked to know what's actually going on beneath the surface. Have you ever just meditated and then went out into society, out of your cocoon, and seen that the impression that you give off is different and what you're receiving is different? Because now you're walking in peace and groundedness. Even if you don't necessarily feel a difference, you meditated and you only sat with yourself. And so you connected with your higher self. And so when you go out into society, you will see that all of a sudden you're not getting as mad because someone looked at you the wrong way or whatever ticks you off, right? So there's that. Yes, this is a very detailed video. I think we have one more point left, but the next point is going to be balance. And balance is very important when it comes to protecting yourself spiritually. The reason why is because when we balance our divine masculine and feminine, we are actually able to also know ourselves on a higher level. But not just that, we're able to not be as reactive anymore, and we are able to know how to respond to negative energies, know how to respond to negative vibrations and entities. Okay? When we know our divine masculine traits and our divine feminine traits, we are able to know, okay, what is it? Why is it that I feel like I'm unbalanced? It's because you're divine masculine and feminine. You're either way too much on the masculine or you're way too much on the feminine. Some people are suppressing their emotions. You can never cry. You don't have, you're not crying as much. You're not able to feel your emotions as much. You're not able to feel what it is that is hurting you, but you just feel cold and you feel stiff, and then out of nowhere it comes out as rage or anger. That means that you're suppressing your emotions, you're suppressing your femininity, your ability to feel, your ability to sense, your ability to receive even love. If you're not open to receiving love, then you're really putting yourself in a dangerous spot where you're not even open to see signs of protection. You're not going to be able to see the love and the beautiful butterflies and what they mean. You're not going to be able to see the blue jay telling you that a victory is coming, that something victorious is coming into your life, which, by the way, I've made a video about the blue jay, hearing it and seeing it and what that means. You can check that out. I'll quote it over here. And if I don't get to that because I'm so busy and this video is so long, you can check out the playlist on my channel, which is named Spirit Animals. But yes, when you're too much into your masculine energy, you can be too assertive. You can be too, when you're too much inside of your feminine energy and you're lacking masculine energy, you can be very, very, very codependent. Whether you're a man or a woman, you can be too codependent on the other partner, too codependent on other people, very, very much stuck in fear. And when I say fear, I just mean fear, because if you're suppressing your emotions, you're also fearing your emotions, right? You're fearing feelings. But when you're suppressing your masculinity, you're really fearing a necessity to really make it through the world and just survive. You're really suppressing your innate ability to survive, to think, to strategize, and to, save yourself, save your child, save your family from a stressful situation, to protect yourself, to fight. And this goes different if you're a woman or if you're a man. Biologically, if you're a woman or if you're a man, and even spiritually, if you feel like you have more feminine essence than masculine essence, or if you feel like you have more masculine essence than feminine essence, you want to meditate, you want to feel which is taking over. Another way that's very practical to know what your feminine energy is like and what your divine masculinity is like is through astrology. Now, for those of you who don't know astrology, you're probably going to have to Google a birth chart calculator, and you're probably going to have to go ahead and type in your date of birth and type in your time of birth. I believe you need your time of birth for this information. And if you don't have that, that's okay. There's other ways. But what you can do is you can go ahead and put in your astrology. Your first house is going to be who you are as yourself. So if you're biologically a female, then your first house is going to be your feminine essence. If you're biologically a male, then your first house is going to be your masculine essence, right? Whatever sign is in your first house, which is also known as your ascendant or your rising sign. Whatever sign is in your first house is going to be the characteristics and the perceived troubles and the perceived positives of your divine self, biologically, man or woman. The opposing house of that, the opposite house of that, is going to be the seventh house. That is going to be your marriage, your partner, your friends, your business, what is outside of you as a direct engagement of partnership or contract, what you are bound to when it comes to relationships, of all sorts of relationships. And that is going to be, if you're a woman, biologically, that is going to be your divine masculine. If you're a man, biologically, your seventh house is going to be your divine feminine. Now, what it comes down to is when you are going through life, you're gonna have a tough, hard freaking lesson, trust me, where you realize that you cannot look towards anybody else to provide that other side. So you cannot look to anybody else to provide what it is that you're lacking, whether that's your femininity that you don't dive into that much, or whether that's your masculinity. And you're going to have to dive into it yourself and be able to provide that for yourself, so that way you can feel whole. And if you feel whole, your aura field would be whole. There won't be any holes in it, and it will be holistic, and it will be total, and you won't be so vulnerable to negative energies and entities and relationships. And you also won't be putting yourself in a vulnerable state by overreacting or reacting negatively, because you have the balanced divine masculine and femininity within you. So I know that last point was a bit complex, but all in all, it's really just about being able to tap into equally being assertive, equally being able to feel and know what it is that you are feeling. Being able to know what it is and identify your feelings of hurt, pain, and sorrow. Primary feelings. Secondary feelings are anger. Secondary feelings are, things like rage and things like annoyed. Primary feelings are what's really going on, which is sadness, grief. You really want to go and see what is it that is making you feel these emotions, or at least identify the emotion. And with your divine masculinity, you want to really be able to know what is it that makes you active, what is it that makes you get up, what is it that gives you a spark, what is it that makes you fight, what is it that makes you devoted and not want to give up? What is it that makes you want to protect yourself? Think of yourself and imagine yourself as a little child, your little child self, and think about a time where you either got bullied really hard or a time where you got treated really badly. As long as it's not going to be too triggering for you, right? But this is a technique you can do. Think about a time where, sorry, I'm just looking at my headphone and seeing when it's cutting off. Think about a time where you really feel like, you know what? Never again. That is going to be your divine masculine. And in some cases, that's even a combination of both. But really what it comes down to is just balancing yourself completely in all areas of your life. Even when it comes to health. I went through an experience where I went and I did a fast for 8 days on water and coconut water. I was like a Sabianist, where it was all Dr. Sabi's alkaline foods list, which helped alkalize my body, and it was great and it was beautiful, but there were also things that I was lacking. So long story short, it's all about balance. Balance is key. Balance of your divine femininity and masculinity, balance inside of your foods and what you eat, balance in taking a break from eating too much. Intermittently fasting is a really good way to spiritually protect yourself, because you're going to know yourself more and you're going to raise your vibration more. Okay? Balancing your speech, when to talk, when not to talk. Balancing all of your chakras, your sacral chakra. Knowing how to have these deep desires, but control it. You don't want your deep desires to go so crazy that you're out here opening your legs for everybody. You don't want your deep desire to go so crazy that you're out here and you're doing, the Liberian English came out there. But you don't want your deep desires to go so crazy that, an extreme of anything is just too much. Too much. Too much. Even these holistic people that are selling their products, and they are, speaking truth, they are also in an extreme sense of wanting to attain money for themselves and wanting to attain wealth for themselves, which is not bad. But note that with the things that they're saying, after a while, you might have to filter, balance, and experience it for yourself, because they are also an extremist in an extreme way. Everybody, not everyone, right? What is going on with my microphone? So not everybody, but a lot, unfortunately. So balance is key. You can work out, you can go to the gym 7 days a week, but at some point you're gonna want to rest your body. And a body in motion stays in motion, so you don't want to lay down all the time. That is the key to life, is balance. Okay? So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I'm stuck in this position because if I do any other position, my mic starts to mess up. So if you guys enjoyed watching this video, make sure you hit the like button. Yes, hit the like button. What are you doing? Hit the like button. Comment below if you enjoyed the video. What was your favorite part? What was your favorite part of the video? And of course, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's video. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.